Hey everybody, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Harrelson Hangout. I'm Scott, and I'm going to be the co-host today, along with Greg. We've got a great guest for you, and we're going to be talking about how to scale your real estate business as a buyer's agent. So, Greg, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about what we're going to discuss and introduce our guest?
Okay, thanks, Scott. So, hey, I'm Greg Harrelson down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I've got one of my great real estate agents, joining me for a coaching call. That's what we do here at the Hangout with Harrelson. Is I just want to kind of go out there and let people, see what coaching is like, and let everyone kind of just eavesdrop in on a typical conversation that I might have with one of my agents in the office. So, Jill, why don't we go ahead and get started? One of the things that I'm committed to is just delivering a lot of value to anyone that's going to see this, and in hopes that at the end of the day they can take a nugget away and apply it in their business and start doing more business themselves. So, real quick, Jill, why don't we just go ahead and get right into it? Tell us just a little bit about yourself. How long you been in the business?
I've been in the business for a total of 10 years. Originally started in New Jersey, and when I moved here, took a year off, and then went to a couple of other companies, and then came to your company 8 years, June. Eight
Wow.
years this June.
It's been that long, huh?
Yeah, that long.
That's long. I feel bad for you.
Nah, I'm going to stay. I'm sticking
Okay.
around.
Good. So, tell us what in 2000. It's 2015 now. So in 2013, what was your results in 2013? How many
50,
deals did you?
58 deals.
58 deals.
hmm
Okay. And how many of those were buyer controlled versus seller controlled deals?
56 buyer.
Okay, so for those listening, obviously you're a buyer's agent,
Yes.
and not that you won't take some listings here and there, but for the most part, you predominantly work with buyers. And I want everyone to kind of take note to this conversation, because the conversation we're having today is about scaling your buyer business. There are so many people that are talking about scaling businesses or scaling their real estate practice, but if you'll listen carefully, most of the coaches, most of the conversations are all about scaling the listing side, the sell the transaction. And I will say it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to actually scale a listing business than it is a buyer's business. But it's not impossible. But I just kind of wanted you to listen to this conversation, because this is quite different than most of the stuff that you're going to hear about. I'm not going to talk about how she can get 20 more listing appointments and 20 additional listings in a month. We're going to talk about buyers and doing more deals. So in 2013, you did 58 deals. What about 2014?
60.
60. Okay, so you did 2 additional deals. So were you happy with that?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Yeah. So as a little, your result was fairly flat. And
Yes.
tell me about that. What do you happened? And it's not that 60 deals is not good, but what was going on? Because we like to see growth, but in this case, you kind of plateaued. What do you think was the cause of that?
So basically, nothing changes unless something changes, right? And
Okay.
change always precedes progress. And change anything in my business. I expected to do the same thing with different results, and we all know what that is. So,
Okay.
I didn't change anything in my business last year. Therefore, I got the same results.
Interesting. Okay, so here's a thought. Okay, because and I'm really glad you said this. So one thing that I would say as your coach and being here side by side with you nearly every day is I would say that your skills in the last few years got a lot better. In 2014, I would think your skills were at a much higher level than in 2013. Not that they weren't already good. So what's interesting is this, and here's what I want you to hear, Jill. Your skill sets, I think, got a lot better, but you still plateaued. So I guess the point is if you do change something, then you're going to grow exponentially, because when you add more activity, when you start changing things that we know is going to generate more business, and then on top of that, your skills are much better than they ever been. They're best they've ever been now, at this point. Then now you can have a quantum leap. So I just want you to take note of that, and I want everyone to hear this, that don't just rely on your skills getting better. It still actually requires additional activities. You have to change something, and if your skills are getting better and you're changing things, that's a quantum leap. But if your skills are getting better and you're not changing anything, then most likely there was change, but the change was like this. You actually did less, and it was your increased level of skill that got you the same amount. That I would be willing to bet that you actually did change from 2000 to 2014, but the business might have been a little bit easier because your skill sets were higher. But we won't dissect that, but that's just so 2015. Now here we are. What is your goal for 2015?
125.
125. Okay, so now we're talking quantum leap. Now we're talking, everybody that's listening to us is going to say there's no possible way she's going to be able to do this, because this is 100% plus increase in the business. So why do you believe you can do it?
I'm doing things this year, changes in my business that I feel as though it can support that number.
Okay.
And let's just say we're already done with the first quarter. March is basically over. I'm already 67% ahead of where I was last year in the first quarter.
Got it. Okay. So you're not tracking at 125 deals, but 67%. So I'm going to call that 70%. So that would be an additional 21. So you're tracking you're probably tracking somewhere around 90 deals, because I don't know how many pendings you have. How many pendings do you have right now?
17.
Okay, so you got 17 pendings personally, and you're tracking to do about 90 deals. So we've got to figure out how to find an extra 31 deals. Now, me, that is a conversation that's much easier to figure out than those that might be listening saying, "Oh gosh, we've got to have over 100% increase." Sometimes that 100% increase conversation can be quite overwhelming. So, what are a few changes that you have made that you think is causing an increase right now?
Well, in the past, I've always my goal has always been to do about 20 contacts, and I know the results I get with 20 contacts. So I have to up my contacts in order to do more business, right? We all know that. Yep. So I need to, right now I'm tracking 17 contacts a day, and I know I need to bring that up to 40. So one of the changes I need to do that I signed up for is Mojo. So I can get the contacts up to 40 a day. And another change is a virtual assistant. I'm hiring a virtual assistant to help me get to those contacts as well. And anything above that would be just a bonus.
Got it. Okay.
And I've actually hired a showing agent, a showing assistant, to help me with all the influx of appointments that I'm going to have, to be able to handle all the appointments and show property.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna change gears and come back to that in a minute. But let me just make sure that I'm clear on what ultimately what your target is. So let's fast forward to 2020 for a minute. And tell me what your goal is going to be. What is your goal for 2020? 5 years from now. 350 deals. Okay. Yeah. So what I always want us to be thinking about is we can go ahead and figure out how to do 125 deals now and probably hit 120, 125 deals. Or we can actually start trying to figure out how to do 350 deals now, and the 125 will be easy. So in other words, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to be thinking, get too fixated on, we got to get to 125 deals this year. Because what I want you to really think about is building this to do 350 transactions. And what's amazing is you can actually build it. You can start setting up the infrastructure and the systems to do 350. And while you're doing that, you'll just do 125 in spite of yourself. But if you build the systems to do 125, then a lot of times we'll default to a little bit lower. It just happens. It's not you. It just kind of happens. You may default to a slightly less target, and then you're going to have to redo the systems all over again because they were built for 125 and not 350. So you can save a lot of time and a lot of energy by going ahead and keeping the 350 number in your head. I know we'll get to the 125 by doing that, but what I'm really trying to prevent is us setting up systems, having to break them down and reset them, and then do that every year for the next 5 years when we could already draw out what it's going to look like in 5 years and then start executing on that plan now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any questions on that, or?
No, I mean, I totally get it. I'd rather do it now than do it 5 times over in the next 5 years.
Right. So I'm kind of writing down right now like an assignment for you, okay? And if you'll take a note of this, is I want to see your 2020 350 deals closed business plan. See what that business model looks like in your eyes. And then in a future coaching conversation we'll have, I'd like to go ahead and review that and maybe give you some ideas on how to tweak it, change it, and I'm sure a lot of things that you'll have in there is going to be perfect. Okay?
And I want to jump in here for just a second, Greg, and let the audience know. I just want to let the audience know that we have a Q&A app open inside the Hangout. If you get in there and ask if you have any questions for Jill or Greg, ask those. I'll be monitoring it, and I'll make sure that those get answered on air.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to 150 or 125 transactions in 2015. So you're focusing on you're averaging 17 contacts. Your personal goal is to do 20. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how many contacts will your virtual assistant be making for you? What's going to be the goal for that person?
She is going to be doing 60 contacts a week. Okay. She's only part-time.
Okay, so you're going to do part-time. So the goal will be 60 additional contacts. So if we were to look at that on a daily basis, so approximately another 12 contacts. Okay, so now that's so you'll have your 20. You'll have her 12, so now we're going to 32. Correct? Okay, and I'm assuming the showing assistant is now becoming a part of your team because with you doubling your contacts, actually over doubling your contacts if we look at a year ago, then we're assuming that you're going to have at least a 50%, if not a doubling of the number of appointments you're going to go on. Is that what we're thinking?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So I like how you're already preparing for the business, even though the business is not necessarily here right now. I'm sure you're getting busier, but of course you're preparing for the future, so that's good. So here's the one thing that I want to focus on right this moment is, you know that me and Eric did a little test without you knowing it on some of your buyer leads just about an hour ago, right? Did he tell you about that?
Yes.
Okay, so I've did a test with someone else in the office on Friday, and both of you have got very similar results. So let me just kind of share with you what we're doing, what we're up to, and more important, what I think is going to make a massive difference in your business. Okay, so what I did is I exported approximately 200 of your buyer leads out of the website data, the CRM, and the back end of the website. Okay, I exported these people based on their level of activity in the past 48 hours. Okay. And it could have been 72 hours. I'd really have to ask Eric, so please forgive me. 48 or 72 hours. I know one of those is accurate. We figured out that there was approximately 200 people of your buyers that had been very active in the last, say, 48 to 72 hours. Active meaning on the websites doing multiple searches, not just one search. Multiple searches, logging in, logging out, coming back, doing another search. So we said, okay, let's just do a test of those buyers. So then I put it in a system, a texting system, and all these people, of course, are opted into our websites, and so we communicate via text, email, etc. and we sent a text. And the text to these 200 buyers said something like this. It says, "Hello, this is Jill. I've been sending you properties. There's some good properties here in Myrtle Beach for sale. When do you plan on being in Myrtle Beach again?" Okay, all I wanted to know was, when do they plan on coming back to Myrtle Beach? And I'm looking at the list right now, and I think you may have looked at, you may have seen this. I think he exported. Eric Hughes must be, the CFO must be on the call right now, because he just sent me a message and said it was 48 hours. So this is 200 people in the last 48 hours was very active. And this is very significant, because this is what I'm going to coach you to do, Jill, is to do this activity. And I know that we've got probably around 11 or 12 responses with our. The key is I'm looking at one person that responded, and they says, "We're planning on being there next week." And that the name of that person is Mary. I won't use their last name, but I don't think you knew Mary was coming to Myrtle Beach, did you?
No, that was the one I didn't know about. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So what we're noticing, and I know that we've had this conversation before, is the key about your buyer business moving forward is no longer how many leads can you capture. It's the key is lead capture, by the way, for anyone listening, that's old news. Lead capture is so old. That's old news. Who cares? We've all got databases that are so darn big. We've captured hundreds and thousands of people. As a matter of fact, Jill, how many people are in your database right now? These are just strictly yours, not companies, your buyer database.
6,500.
6,500 people that she's captured, and she's purged that database many times and thrown away bad emails and people that are bad numbers, bad emails, and everything else. 6,500. The last thing, Jill, you need to focus on right now is capture. What you need to focus on is identification. It's all about lead identification. It is not about lead capture. Okay, so the key is that buyers today all communicate in different formats. Some buyers love the phone, and this would be consumers in general. Some people love the phone, some people love texting, some people love emailing. What's interesting statistic is 95%, this is a national statistic last year, 95% of texts are opened within the first 5 minutes. 95% of texts are opened and read within the first 5 minutes. Less than 20% of emails are ever read. So, I think, Jill, for you, we need to go ahead and duplicate this process over and over and over again. So I want you to add to your list. You said that you're going to do 20 contacts. Your virtual assistant's going to do 12 a day. You've got your showing assistant. But here's the real question. How many people will you text every day? That's going to be the critical component moving forward. We can do it, and what you're going to find is you're going to find that there's a lot of people that you're emailing and they don't respond. Everyone's got that. So you could set up little groups. These people never respond to email. What are we going to do with them? We're going to text them. These people don't respond to telephone or email. What are we going to do? We're going to text them. So I want to start segmenting your database into the way that they prefer to communicate. These people always answer the phone. These people never answer the phone, but they do reply to my emails. These people don't do either, but they did reply to a text. If you could start segmenting your groups, your buyers into groups like that, and making notes in your in the CRM, then you can start pulling those databases out and doing specific things with those databases where you know the likelihood of you getting a response is going to be very high. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. What are your thoughts on this?
So I don't think you know, but I actually started this last week myself. I've had my assistant go on and actually sending 50 texts a day.
Okay.
So, we're trying to weed through what's an actual, cell number and not. And the response has been about 10% that, they're responding from that. So I've already started this, so to speak, last week. So we're kind of on the same track as to what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, good. So here's how I want you to look at your goal. I don't want the goal to be number of text out, to be number of text in. So if you sent 50 and you got 10% return, so you got five text responses. So I would want you to send 100, because what I believe is you need to send enough and do enough to get 10 incoming text responses from the people that you've reached out to. So we've got your 20 contacts plus your VA's 12 contacts, plus you've got 10 incoming contacts via text. Now listen, this does not replace, and I know you know this is not going to replace making phone calls.
Right.
But what it's going to do is I'm going to help you pull out the people that don't ever pick up the phone, and those will be the ones that we are going to choose to text. And then in return, so those 10 contacts that you get back, I actually do look at those as 10 qualified contacts, because these are people you've made multiple attempts to get them on the phone, and we know what's happening. You're calling them at 9 o'clock in the morning, they're in New Jersey, they're at work, they see the phone ringing, they don't recognize your telephone number, and they let it go to voicemail because they're at work. But when you text them, then they take the phone, they hide it under their desk, and they look and they say, oh, it's that girl, Jill from Beach. Yeah, okay, and then they secretly text you back without anyone seeing it. That's what we're trying to capture. That's what it's basically, converting deals through text messaging. Okay?
Yeah.
So the goal will be 10 inbound text. So we're going to have to figure out what's the outbound number going to have to be in order to get 10 inbound.
Right.
Right now it looks like it's going to be 100. Okay, so have you also and I think we've already discussed this, but I can't recall if you're doing it or not. If you get a new lead off the internet, okay, the first thing you do is call them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if they don't answer the phone, what's the next thing that you're going to do?
I email.
Okay, go ahead.
And then shoot them a text.
Okay, so I want you to text and then email.
Okay.
Okay, I'm being nitpicky, and I'm being very nitpicky for a reason. Okay, when we called them, let's just say they're at the gym or they're at work. When we called them, it's highly likely that they actually saw your call and they see missed call, but they're not going to do anything with it because of wherever they are at that moment. So I know the likelihood that their cell phone is in their hand is really, really high. That's when I want to see the text pop up in their hand. Okay? Because not everyone, including myself, I don't have any alerts for my emails because I get too many emails to be alerted all the time. So I want the alert to go off. See you. And then you go and do your email. But I want you to flip that, and I want you to do call, text, email. Now we're making 3 attempts within minutes of them hitting, of you capturing them as a lead. 3 attempts within minutes. The likelihood that we're going to be the first person to communicate with this buyer is going to be extremely likely.
Oh, and Greg, it looks like Stacy dropped off. She'll be joining back on. I'll go ahead and text her and let her know just to hit the link again. But while she's gone, why don't you go over, and I was just getting ready to ask you this anyway, why don't you go over some of the texting scripts that you can use? So you said that you wanted people to call, text, and then email. On those texts, should they say, like, hey, I just gave you a call, I missed you, and I'm sending you over an email with some more information. Get a hold of me soon, or I
Yeah,
mean,
that
I
would
know
be
you want
very that would be very appropriate. So, let's just say that a new web we got a new web lead, and we make a call. They don't pick up the phone, and then we immediately text something. Hey, I got your inquiry regarding the property that you were searching for. This is a fantastic property. I wanted to get in touch with you real quick. When do you think you might be available? So what we're looking for, the key is this is personal. This is a very intimate way to be in communication. So the last thing we want to do is do any selling. Let me warn you, do not sell through this medium. Do not do it. If you start selling them, you're going to lose them forever. But if you just say, hey, I tried to reach you, when's the best time to reach you? And in Jill's case, what I did is she has a lot of buyers that live in a different area that's coming to Myrtle Beach. So we know that, that text was a very timely text because we started to see an increase in search traffic on our website. Well, we know why. Spring is here, or we're right here at spring, so Myrtle Beach is going to be really busy in the summer. So as we get closer and closer to the summer, we're going to start to see searching activity increase. So we're going to look and make an assumption. I'm going to assume that the people who are searching the most are likely to be coming down the soonest. The people who are searching the most on the website are likely to be coming down the soonest. So that's why I sent that particular text.
Right.
Now let's just say it's all going to depend on the way that you segment your list. But if it is somebody that's brand new, hey, just tried to reach you. I've got some good information about that particular property. When do you think I can connect with you by phone? That would be a text.
So do you try to keep it under a
Under
limit,
100,
a character
try to
limit?
keep it. Yeah, try to keep it under 140 characters.
Okay.
And if you ask me why is that, it's because that's what I was told. That I don't know why, but that's what that's what I've been told, and that's what I've researched. So I do believe this is something that is going to be probably pay some high dividends. High dividends. Welcome back, Jill.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's all right.
Totally shut down.
That's all right. So, conversations or thoughts on the text? We clear kind of on like the format and the structure?
Yeah. How about time? Is there a certain time other than the new leads that I'm going to call, text, and email? Is there a certain time of the day that's better to send a mass text to others?
We're still, great question. We're still testing that, and so I think we sent yours out. I mean, we just sent it out maybe, I don't know, maybe a couple hours now, but we're testing that. So I think it's going to be around 10 a.m. is probably when we want to do it, and ideally you also want to time it where you're not going to get distracted, okay? Because I really don't want you to send it out at 8 would be too early, but if you send it out at 9 and you start getting responses, then it's going to cut into your making your 20 contacts. So I really want to time it where you're sending it out and it's coming in after you've already completed your 20 contacts, just to make sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. So what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge, Jill, on reaching 125 deals?
I think there's always going to be some stumbling blocks. I'm implementing a lot of new things in my business this year, so it's really just going to be trying to figure out what's going to work best. And we need to keep testing, like you said, testing things and seeing, what for me and for my team, and what's going to be best in terms of form of communication with clients.
Okay. So if you have to change one thing in your business right now, if you had to tell us one thing or tell me one thing, what would you change? Or add, or add?
I would say more contacts. That's always driven into our brains. So, the more people I talk to, the more business I'm going to do. That's just going to be automatic. So, I really want to do, instead of the 20 contacts a day, ramp it up to 40.
Okay. Got it. And what what do you think's really the biggest challenge when it comes to increasing contacts? Because I hear this all the time. I mean, everyone knows that if you talk to more people, then you're likely to do more business. I mean, that just seems pretty basic. So what I've always found fascinating is everyone knows that that is an answer. Maybe not the only answer, but it is an answer. Yet at the same token, nobody does it. So so I find it hard to believe that nobody does what they know needs to be done. I find it hard to believe that it's that, but it's something else. So what do you think is going to be the hardest thing from going to 20 contacts to 40 contacts for you in your buyer business? What do you have to let go of? How do you how does your mindset have to shift? What is it?
I think it's more of the conversation, because right now my conversations with buyers are long. So,
Okay.
I think it's going to be more, let's get to the point, and, are they ready to buy in a nice way, and then get them off the phone quickly
Okay.
in order to move on to the next. It's going to
Got
be a whole shift in a conversation.
Okay. Yeah, got it. So qualifying the lead up front, which I'm sure you do, but identifying earlier through the process of when their time frame is to buy. And if they're a year away, then you definitely want to keep them, and nurture them. But if they're a year away, let's not take 15 minutes on the phone, on this one call. Is that
Right.
okay? Good, good. All right. What questions for me, Jill? How can I help you?
I think right now, because I have so much going on and so many new things implementing in my business, it's just a matter of staying in communication and
Okay.
making sure what I'm testing is something that you think will actually work, and kind of get your thoughts on what I'm doing, and just be probably more in communication.
Okay, good. So let me just, of course, instead of taking responsibility for that, I'm going to place responsibility for that on you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to share with you is this. You have my permission 100% to just bug the heck out of me and make sure you get everything you need from me. I'm not always going to be thinking to come up to you and saying, hey, how's things going?
Right.
But if you will just make sure that you be that person that I'm going to answer your question, because I know it's more painful if I don't answer your question. Okay, be that person. And I want you to understand, even at a much deeper level than you already do, that this conversation is about scaling, Jill. And scaling is a business conversation. It's not a real estate conversation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I thought about, and I just want to share again, is that we're talking about doing something that very few people, if anyone, has done. I mean, we were talking to Mike Ferry, me and you, and even himself says for a buyer's agent to do 100 deals, it's almost unheard of. Plenty of listing agents and plenty of teams, but you're not a listing agent. You're not a team. You are literally a buyer's agent, and there's nothing else there. It's you. And of course, you're building a team of a staff, and and that is necessary. But the reality is what you're doing is you're creating a business here, and so scaling is a business conversation. So I want you to think as a businesswoman. I mean, for the most part, you're an entrepreneur that's really focusing on the real estate industry. You're not a real estate agent trying to do 125 deals. And the sooner you can adopt that mindset, then the easier this is going to be, and the clearer the path is going to be for you. So again, you've got to adopt the mindset that you are an entrepreneur. You're a businesswoman, an entrepreneur that's focusing on real estate business. You're not a real estate agent trying to actually do 125 deals. Is that clear?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I really feel like my mindset this year is more so towards that than any other year in the past.
Great, great. Well, then you're definitely going to be on your way then.
I'm really starting to learn the leverage word and
Yeah.
starting to leverage myself, so I don't necessarily have to be everything and all to all.
Yeah. And so, leverage is another great word that we have to also, really, really, really study, because what a lot of people think of is they want to leverage, and hey, that's cool. I like that. I mean, I definitely delegate to a lot of people, but I think leveraging other people and delegating are two different, are practically the same. What you really want to leverage, Jill, is leverage your skills, because you're the one that has all the skills. You have the skills in your mind. You've been doing this for years, and you've been working on your skills, and you have the skills. So you can leverage other people, but other people don't have your skills. So guess what? The results are not going to be the same. But if you find ways to leverage your skills, then you're going to get a huge return. So it still will show up in your leveraging other people, but when you leverage them, don't leverage to get something off your plate. Leverage them, but make sure you equip them with the things that you know, so then that way your skills are coming out on every one of those conversations. So you really want to spend time in developing your team. Too many people hire teams or hire staff, and they just say, okay, wow, I got somebody to push to make copies. I got somebody to take this off of my desk. That's not what you want. You want to train them so they can actually turn around, use your skills, and bring you business. So leveraging others is great, but leveraging your own skills and talents is going to be critical. So we'll talk about that more and more over time. That we could probably have an hour-long conversation on that alone. So we're running around 40 minutes. I try to keep these anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. I don't like to do a full hour. Any last questions, Jill or Scott? Anything?
I don't have any questions. I know that you guys have covered a lot. It's been great listening to you. Jill, I guess the one question I have, is there anything that you would want to leave the viewers with, one piece of knowledge that maybe you've picked up this year or last year that has really helped turn your business around?
Yeah, sure. So one thing that we here at the Harrelson Group with buyer leads have been talking about response time and how important response time is with these buyer leads. And I was just reading something yesterday, and I sent it to Greg. It said that you are 9 times more likely to convert an internet lead when you respond within 5 minutes. And that is critical. And, I think something else, there's another statistic where I think it was NAR or something, where only 66% of buyers today interviewed one agent. So with that alone, the nine times more likely to convert, and you're the first person talking to them, you're the only one talking to them, I mean, that's just huge. That's massive. So I think, response time, really just concentrating on that, it would totally turn your business around as a buyer's agent.
Yeah, that's good. Let me just finish on that. So what Jill just shared with us all is she knows what to do. But you know what? Knowing what to do is not enough. Actually doing it is what will get you to become a top producer. So everyone knows what to do nowadays. You can just Google it and know what to do. But it won't do it for you. So what I'm really excited, Jill, is to be a part of watching you actually applying what you know. And something like this, I can assure the audience you will be over transactions. I just know you will. So I appreciate it, and I'm with you. All right, so I think that's it. hopefully you got something out of this hangout with Harrelson, and we're going to continue to do this once a month at the beginning of every month, and you'll get notifications. So please share this, watch it again, share it with others. I'm just committed to just kind of being transparent in the way that I coach agents and open the door and allow people to see what we're doing in hopes that somebody can eavesdrop and catch a nugget and maybe you're in New York right now, and we said something that'll help you grow your business. So that's it for us, Scott.
Yeah, and this is, just to remind everybody, this has been an unusual time slot for the Hangout this month. We will pick back up at our regular time at the beginning of the month, as Greg said, next month, and that will be on the 6th.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. It was a great Hangout, and we hope to see you next month.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.